Hi, it's Wednesday, the 25th of September. What I want to do with this particular video is bring together the issues that I talked about in last week, looking at outer planets changing sign, and then looking at the dwarf planets and the configurations that they're in at the moment. Just kind of bring it all together before we park it and then carry on with the daily astrology again. So, I just to remind you, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to share. Let's start with the outer planets moving zodiac signs and sort of remind ourselves of that, and then um, we can move on to the dwarf planets. Okay, right. So here we have 2024, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29. And here we have the outer planets and I've included Chiron in that. I think Chiron is a very important planet to include now. Top line, Pluto in this year moves from Aquarius into Capricorn and back into Aquarius. This is because he is making the transition between Capricorn and Aquarius. So previous to this, Pluto has been in Capricorn since 2008, something like that. Okay, so that's the one that is preceding the others. And that needs to be borne in mind, really. Next, we have Neptune, and Neptune's moving from its own sign of Pisces into Aries. Neptune not so keen to do this. Neptune, a feminine planet, a yin planet, and a water planet. It's difficult for something which represents and symbolizes an age-old. It's hard really to describe it. So if we go back to the origins of time, let me just stop sharing. So we go back to the origins of time before this dimension, okay? So before the Big Bang, right? So we have energies there which are so primordial, and so of original. And Neptune represents that. And because it's a feminine planet, it's always hieing back. Feminine always looks back, masculine looks forward. So, in the looking back and being the original primal state, and that's what Neptune represents, it doesn't really want to get into Aries and be woken up to start it all over again. That flux of energy, that massive push into Aries, which bursts everything into life. I'm always reminded with Neptune of E.T. going, go home, in that film E.T. There is something about this energy which exists in all of us, and it's a part of us that feels sad and sorry for what we've done. The sin of man, you could put it like that. The Big Bang, the fall of man in the Christian religion. It's something about a part of us that goes, oh my goodness, did we do this? Oh my goodness, oh, this is not good. Look at this. This is terrible. I've got to put this right. It's an energy which is about redemption, and it's about redeeming itself or us wanting to redeem ourselves. And the symbolism of redemption, the energy of redemption, is so much a part of this energy. It cannot help but slide into it. So Pisceans, especially anybody with a large amount of Piscean energy, will know exactly what I'm talking about. That feeling of I've got to put this right, a need to clear out, to dissolve all toxicity and return everything into an original, virginal, primal state. pure and innocent. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the share now. Okay, we're on that one, aren't we? Right. So Neptune not wanting to go, to go into Aries, but it'll have to, and then it rolls back into Pisces again, and then rolls forward into Aries. Now, one thing I want to make absolutely clear here, as far as the solar system is concerned and the gravity of planets, right? Neptune is a gas giant, right? An enormous, enormous gravity. Neptune controls the path of Pluto. Now, that's sort of a very little known fact, I think. Neptune controls where Pluto goes, what Pluto does. Pluto is a small rock. Neptune is a mighty gas giant. And in fact, Neptune probably controls the orbit of most of the known dwarf planets. There are a few that, for one reason or another, are not so much under its control. But there are some that are quite dependent on the gravitational swing of Neptune. So I just want to make that primordial effect. I want to make us aware of that. So when we look at Pluto and the outer planets, when we look at Pluto and the dwarf planets of the Kuiper Belt, which we're going to look at next, we have to understand that there is a mighty, mighty water energy behind all this, controlling it. Okay, so the next one in is Uranus, in towards the sun, that is Uranus, a masculine planet, moving from the very tight grip that Taurus has had over it into the wonderfully free atmosphere of Gemini. Uranus is an air planet, masculine. Gemini is the first of the air zodiac signs. I can't wait. I cannot wait for this movement. I have missed Uranus, to be honest, and it's moving into the sign that my sun is in. So I'm my sun sign. So I'm like, yay! It's an awakener and a revealer. So we will reveal is what this planet is going to do, and I really can't wait for the revelations. Okay, and Saturn's moving from Pisces into Aries again, right? So waking up masculine signs here all the time. Chiron's still in Aries when this happens. So 3 outer planets in Aries at this point: Neptune, Saturn, and Chiron. That's a big whammy. Okay, eventually Chiron does move on, but we're not talking permanently until 2027. This is the year that counts, 2025. This year really counts. Okay, I'm just going to stop the share on that one. So the movements, the swinging of planets which represent something into the energies of the zodiac belt. Now, I've already talked to you about the fact that the zodiac belt has utmost importance. It is the thing that really matters, the biggest influences, as far as I'm concerned, in the general field of astrology, are those zodiac signs. They, again, we're going back to primordial stuff. It's the relationship of the Earth to the Sun that produces that zodiac belt, and that influence it can't be avoided. It is entirely, it's as necessary and as part of our experience as the seasons are, as winter, spring, and summer. It infiltrates our lives and is part of our lives in the same way that the seasons do. Those zodiac signs are very important. Okay, now let's share now, and this time what I'm going to do is bring up the chart I had yesterday. I felt that I hadn't really done it justice, so I want to have a look at this again. Okay, so the T-square, I'm using the astrological jargon there, the T-square. We've got two T-squares going on in dwarf planets in the Kuiper Belt, and that is very important. I know I'm saying it, but what do I think is the most important? Probably the zodiac signs rank above this. Right, I don't know, there's an argument. Okay. Right, so T-square, so configuration, if you're not an astrologer and you're just learning the jargon. Over here, Maki, a big player in the pandemic thing of 2020, when Maki was in opposition to Chiron, representing the wounding of humanity, and the humiliation of humanity, etc. And Maki representing pandemics and population movements. Okay, right. So we've got Maki over here, Silesia, whose biggest issue probably is the deeply humiliating move from being the goddess ruling the oceans to demotion, as Neptune is by the Romans is promoted over her. Okay, and then we've got Quawa over here, an indigenous deity from California. Okay, so those three are in a T-square, and it's a long-running T-square. It's something like 12 years in. So this isn't, there's nothing's in a rush here. However, we have to bear it in mind because it's giving us clues as to this huge swathes of movement that the tidal waves of time are taking in the future. Okay, and I'm just going to point out the next one. So it's Eris and Chiron over here, an enormously influential conjunction next year. It carries a lot of stuff. There's a big story around this. And that's opposite Haumea, and they're both square to Pluto. So very much towards the end of the cardinal zodiac signs, but the other one, the first one I mentioned, is bang in the middle of the cardinal signs. That in itself is important, the emphasis on cardinality. This is all affecting how we lead, what is leading, leadership, the direction of humanity. Okay, so what I'm going to do is stop sharing again. Right, the direction of humanity. I want to look at the direction of humanity and see it as a huge tidal wave, which is moving like an arrow through time. And the direction we take is obviously influenced by things happening, issues, as it moves forward. So it's like a huge, mighty ship ploughing forward in the ocean, the direction of humanity, the growth, the way the planet is changing. All this is like an unstoppable juggernaut, if you like, or the Titanic. It's like we're all sitting on the deck of the Titanic, fiddling with deck chairs. And in actual fact, what we need to be doing is avoiding the iceberg. We're trying. When the dwarf planets were first discovered, and I did all the work on them and wrote the first book on them and did academic research on them, which I still do, one of the issues that I noticed back in 2006 was climate change. In actual fact, if you go back to 2006, which you can't, but if you did, you would realize that there was no such word as climate change at all in 2006. It was on nobody's lips. It was not in the news. It was a real fringe issue. Impossible. Now look at it. So from 2006 to 2024, My, have we come forward in understanding that climate change is an issue and it's happening. And it doesn't matter who caused climate change, to be honest with you. Um, I mean, I always look at the fact that we get a regular ice age, no matter whether there was a population or not, whether humans were around or not, there is a regular ice age. The planets are not finished. The solar system isn't finished. There are wobbles on the Earth, wobbles on the Sun, wobbles on all the orbits, which means that regularly, yeah, all right, every 12,000 years or so, but we do go into an ice age, and that's unstoppable. So anyway, climate change. Um, so I think the issues are, as far as I'm concerned, putting all this together, it's going to be more climate change. It just is. It's also going to be about the seas, the presence of Silesia and Neptune there. Um, and the other thing, sorry, Silesia and Makemake are the big ones here, sorry. It's Makemake represents the big South Pacific movement of water. And it'll come to me in a moment, the the name of it. There is every so many years you get this huge, great warming, sea warming. Oh, somebody shout it out to me. Go on. Anyway, Makemake is probably the very movement that causes that. La Nina, El Nino, got it. The oscillation, the South Pacific oscillation. That probably is Makemake. That is the god. It's. I've been to Easter Island. I've worked my way through all this. I've read all the papers that it is quite likely that that is the god. So with that god in contact with Silesia, we've obviously got sea stuff coming up, and it's the oceans and the temperature of the oceans which cause a lot of our weather, isn't it? We get some energy from the sun, and then it affects the water. You can't separate it all out, but there is there's a cause and effect. And I think the other issue is about the developing world, and those developing countries that want to have the Western lifestyle, and are now saying, right, okay, it's our turn, and we want to burn coal, etc., and we want to progress. I think the problem is with all countries wanting to do that and being blessed and able to do that, and of course that's what we would want for everybody. Unfortunately, the planet's too small and the resources are very quickly going to be depleted. Um, so we've got issues about the planet. I think ultimately the answer is to move off Earth, to get to the moon, to get on and Mars. And then after that, it's one of the dwarf planets, Haumea, that I think has been looked at by NASA as a possible potential for a jumping place before we move out of the solar system. I know this is far-fetched, but I can't stop thinking that that is the way it will go. We will become too big for this planet. So what we're looking for is science to help us out, to give us that huge leap forward so that we're able to move off the planet, basically. And I do think that there are issues around that. And talking to aliens, I think that's a definite possibility for the next year, etc. Now, if all that sounds too far-fetched, look at the astrology I've just shown you. It's massive. Have I seen astrology like this before? I don't think there's so much all at once. I think, yes, we had this, yes, we had that, yes, we had the other. This is all coming at once. It's all together. You just got to look at what, that 2025, all those planets shifting signs into masculine signs. Uranus going into Gemini. Wow, our science will leap ahead in ways that you can't imagine now. In the same way, in 2006, you couldn't imagine climate change. You will not be able to imagine now what is going to happen over the next 10 years. It's going to be massive and huge. And hopefully, we will be able to look at the good of humanity instead of just being greedy, as the leaders seem to manage to be. It's all about money, isn't it, at the moment? Everything's profit. Well, let's hope that, there are some better goals and targets than that. But anyway, right. Okay. So I hope that was useful. And thank you for listening. And tomorrow, I thought what I might do is do some daily astrology because you're not getting a lot this week, are you? But having said that, I looked at the astrology and I thought, this is we've got time to cover something else now. There's not such a big thing going on this week. Well, apart from just recovering from the eclipse and that kind of thing. Right. Okay, I'm going to go before I keep wobbling onwards. And thanks very much for joining me. If you've stayed this long, I'm really impressed. Well done. Thank you, my dear viewer, or one of you. Thank you for listening to the end. I appreciate this. There we go. And somewhere in here, there we go. I've got a stop button. There it is. I'll see you tomorrow, and thank you so much for being here. I wouldn't be doing this research if you weren't listening. I wouldn't. I'd just be cuddling up on the settee with the kitten. It's helping me enormously. I've missed doing astrology at the cutting edge like this, so thank you. Okay, bye.